Never had anyone to teach me these things, so I'm looking for guidance on Reddit. Thank you. Story 1. Look at the bolts that connect the panels to the vehicle. They come painted the same color as the car from the factory. If the paint is chipping, or it looks like there's been a wrench on them, that could indicate that bodywork was done on the car and the panel has either been readjusted or replaced. Make sure the vehicle identification number behind the windshield matches the number on at least one other panel, such as the driver's door, and also the title. Look for rust that is perforated on either the body or frame of the car. As others have said, tire condition, tire brands, and mismatched tires will give you a good indication of previous ownership. Pull the oil cap and look inside with a flashlight. Look for sludge or coolant mix. Basically, make sure the oil looks clean and smooth. Red flags would be metal shavings or a frothy or chocolate milkshake appearance. Crank up the car, open the hood, and just take a few moments to listen to the engine. Some sounds are normal, but listen for loud tapping or clunking sounds. When you test drive the car, keep the radio off. If you can, keep the air conditioning and heating off as well and test them separately. Drive the car both carefully and aggressively to put it under different loads. If it's an automatic transmission, listen and feel carefully for slipping or jumping of gears and watch the tachometer for over-revving. If it's a manual, listen and feel for grinding or getting stuck or popping out of gear. During your test drive, make sure the odometer turns at least 1 full mile. Watch for smoke when accelerating. Bluish smoke indicates that the car is burning oil through the exhaust, and dark or black smoke indicates serious major engine problems. Note that black smoke will be normal on some diesel vehicles. If possible, always test drive the car with the engine cold. There are some mechanical issues that go away after the engine and transmission are warmed up. Some sellers know this and will warm the car up before showing it. There are a lot more tips and resources out there. I would recommend going on YouTube and checking out a channel called ChrisFix. He has posted a series of videos on buying used cars and has a checklist you can download. Not all of the information is perfect, but it is really helpful for beginners. Source: I was a buyer for a major auto dealership for 3 years. One more thing to add: download the MyCarfax app. It's free, and you can scan the vehicle identification number, and it will show you all of the reported maintenance and repairs on the vehicle. Story 2. A YouTuber by the name of ChrisFix has an excellent playlist on what to look for. It's really in-depth and thorough. Happy hunting. Story 3. Ask if you can take it to a shop for them to look over. Most shops do pre-purchase inspections, and if they don't want you to take it, that's a big red flag. Story 4. Cheap weird brand tires. It means that they've spent the bare minimum on the rest of the car, and there's probably shoddy workmanship and missing service items from poor quality auto shops, even if it has service history. Story 5. The price seems too good to be true. High miles for the year, it's overly dirty, black oil, brown or burn-smelling transmission fluid, rough idle, overly squishy suspension, non-functioning gauges, and rust. Depending on the overall condition, some of these things can be overlooked and brought up in the negotiation process, except rust. Don't mess with rust. Edit. Additions. Story 6. If the engine is warmed up when you go to test drive the car, there are a lot of issues that only affect cold start or cold driving, especially on older cars. The seller might warm the car up right before you get there to remedy this. It's important to observe the car warming up on your test drive. Open the radiator cap when the engine is cold to check for milky oil or low coolant, and check the oil cap for signs of coolant. When they mix, it makes a light brown milky color. I usually grab firmly on the top of each tire and shake vigorously, then repeat side to side. You can feel if there is a ball joint or tie rod that is wearing. The way the seller talks can easily be a red flag. I usually buy enthusiast cars, only manual transmissions, usually rear-wheel drive, so I just try to have conversations with the seller. When they are open to talk about the car, what they liked, what they didn't, what modifications they did, it makes me trust them. If they give one-word answers and seem like they don't care about the car or sale, then I walk away. If you're meeting them at their house, check for stains in the driveway or garage, where the vehicle would have sat. Story 7. Cheap aftermarket repairs generally indicate that the person did the bare minimum in taking care of the car. Cheap aftermarket editions, such as a big, poorly designed spoiler on a 14-year-old Toyota Corolla, are generally installed by people who think they are street racers and treat their cars as such. The condition of the car does not match its age or mileage. This can be a sign that the person has not been taking good care of it. Also, not a red flag, but consider buying a Bluetooth onboard diagnostics code scanner and downloading the torque application on your phone. Check for codes before and after your test drive. Make sure you check for pending codes as well. Story 8. When you insert the key and give it the first turn, all of the lights should light up, most importantly the check engine and the battery failure lights. If they don't, the most probable cause is that the circuit board was tampered with. Story 9. The Daewoo brand is a red flag. If you come across one, stay away. Look at the motor. Does anything look greasy? Nothing under the hood of any car should be greasy. It's understandable if it's dirty, but never oily or greasy. Something is wrong if that's the case. If you're looking at a car with a lot of engine covers, find a way to remove them and have a good look at the motor. Story 10. Aftermarket wheels, mismatched tires, and a seller who will not let you start the car when the engine is both cold and hot. Non-working air conditioning is another big one sellers will lie about. Just needs a recharge can mean it needs new lines, a condenser, or a compressor. If it only needed a recharge, the seller would have spent $20 on a do-it-yourself can and done it themselves. Story 11. Most people get a sticker on their windshield that reminds them when to service their car again. Are they significantly past that sticker? If tires are in poor condition, there is a good chance they didn't maintain the rest of the car either. It takes 30 seconds to check the oil, which is an easy way to know if they are at least doing basic maintenance. Drive it at least a few minutes on a highway. Story 12. If the guy lives on a dirt road, ask to take it to a car wash. Not a drive-through, one of the ones where you insert quarters and do it yourself. Spray the underside thoroughly. Personal experience. I bought a car from a little old lady on some remote dirt street. Low mileage, no body damage, not much work needed, cool. Took it home, washed it, and then the problems began. She had never washed this car once in the decade plus she owned it. The entire underside was rust, and the caked-on mud was the only thing holding it all together. It was a nightmare. For a used car, obviously, a test run is mandatory. If he doesn't want you to drive it, there's a very good reason for it. While you're driving, turn on the air conditioning. It's universally one of the first things to go on a car, so it working is a good sign. Check the heat too. The potential problems are very different between the two, and you don't want to find out you have none after the first snowfall. While driving, hit a nice long straightaway and let go of the wheel. You'll only veer if something is wrong, and it could be a lot of things. Busted steering column, poor alignment, heavily worn tires, chassis damage, a lot of different things. If it's parked over a puddle, the guy doesn't want you looking underneath. Always pop the hood, even if you're not a car person. If there's any rust in there, anywhere, don't bother. If the belt's dry rotted, don't bother. Check the motor mounts, there shouldn't be any wiggle. If the parts are painted, it means one of two things. Something's wrong and he's trying to cover it up, or he really cared about the car. It's up to your judgment on that one. Me personally, if he really cared about it, why is he selling it? While the hood's up, check the oil. If he didn't care enough to change it before selling, he probably didn't care enough in general. Even if you've never done a change in your life and have no clue what you're looking at, it's a good chance to gauge his reaction. Minor issues like flaky paint or scratches aren't a big deal. They're easy to fix. However, they do create spots for rust to start, so look closely. Chips in the windshield are a bigger problem. If it's just something a little silicone can patch up, no biggie. If you need a new windshield, that's $100 to $400 out of pocket. Ask if he's still got the spare tire. If not, ask why. Edit. If I think of anything else, I'll add it. Story 13. I examine the interior for a quick idea. If they don't take care of the place where they reside in the car, do you really expect them to take care of things they can't see? Story 14. This will get buried, but it's a huge one. If you show up and the car is either already running for you or obviously was just running, it's a big red flag. A lot of problems will only present themselves when the engine is cold starting, and less than honest dealers will do you the favor of making sure the car is all warmed up for you. You want to hear how the engine cold starts and listen for pinging, grinding, etc. Similarly, rust, because where there's smoke, there's fire. Look under the car. A little smattering or surface rust on an old car is to be expected. But if you see places where it's rusted through, run. Not only is the body possibly unsafe, but it's likely to have a lot of engine problems, and it'll cost an arm and a leg to work on. Some mechanics will just turn you away because the liability is too high. Story 15. Take the car out for a test drive. Get up to 40 miles per hour or so and lightly apply the brakes to start slowing down. If the steering wheel shakes, do not buy the car. You will hear, "Oh, it's just the brakes. We'll replace them," or, "Oh, it must be the control arms. We'll replace them." If the car made it onto the lot with safety issues like that, the dealer certainly did not inspect it, and there could be a multitude of other issues that will pop up after the 14-day lemon law period expires. I learned this the hard way. Story 16. Check out ChrisFix's used car checklist. It's comprehensive and easy to follow. 2 years ago, I knew nothing about car repair or maintenance other than oil changes. Thanks to him and YouTube in general, I now do my own brakes. I've recently changed the thermostats, mine has two, in my car and performed a thorough flush. Replaced the spark plugs and coils, replaced the turn signal unit, fixed lights all over, etc. I actually got an onboard diagnostics computer so I can troubleshoot codes. If you have the time to be a weekend warrior, you can save a lot of money on car repairs and pay fair prices for used ones since you'll know things that reduce value. I just bought a used 2017 Toyota RAV4 with 19,000 miles on it for $17,000 from a dealership. Took all day and we went through testing about 5 of them. I also had my nitrile gloves, a mat I could throw on the ground, and hooked my onboard diagnostics in and crawled over every inch and test drove it thoroughly. None of this just easing it up the road and back. I'm braking hard, accelerating hard, steering tough, etc. There was a Carfax incident, but I could tell from looking under the car it was just a bumper replacement with no frame or radiator damage. The Kelley Blue Book value is $20,000 to $22,000. If you don't feel guilty for the seller of the car, sales representative or owner, when you leave, you didn't negotiate low enough. Always be prepared to leave without the car. Story 17. Search manufacturer owners' forums for common faults before you go view it. A friend found me a great forum post which turned into my buying checklist specific to the car I was getting. It turned up a couple of minor things that I didn't care about but was good for price negotiation. Check air conditioning and heat. I viewed my car at the height of summer, and it was only a couple of weeks ago that I thought, "Oh, the heat and defrost functions work fine." I totally didn't think to check. Story 18. Eric the Car Guy has an excellent 4-part series on what to look for when used car shopping. It helped me out immensely. Based upon his videos, here's a checklist that I put together. Your best bet is seeing if the private seller or dealer is willing to let you bring the car to a nearby trusted mechanic with access to a lift, or bringing a mechanically inclined friend with you. 2 sets of eyes can be better than 1. Good luck with your car search. Story 19. Look underneath and at the engine for wet dark spots indicating oil leaks. This usually means bad seals somewhere, which can be very expensive to have repaired. Pop the hood before you start it and give the engine a feel. Make sure it is cold and start the car. It should start in 2 to 3 turns for a 4-cylinder engine. If the engine is warm, ask to come back when it is cold. If they drove the car to a location for you to look at, you will not be able to do this. Look at the tachometer and make sure it is not jumping around during idle. Let the car warm up and check again. While it warms up, check the undercarriage with a flashlight for excessive rust. Surface rust is common and not an issue. Make sure you are not able to pull off chunks of rust from anywhere structural. Check rubber belts and hoses for cracks. If there is cracking on any belts, just walk away. Make sure the air conditioning and all settings, radio, and heat are functioning. Finally, take it for a test drive and listen for whining, popping, and generally strange sounds. If they turn the radio up as you drive, run away fast. Story 20. I always look at the condition of the interior. If someone doesn't take care of the interior, where they have to sit and drive, It's pretty much a given that they don't care about what's under the hood or following a maintenance schedule. You can tell if it was only just recently cleaned up for sale. Carpets will still have some stains or discoloration. Seats will be cracked and have places where dirt could not be cleaned. Trim will be all scratched up. Things like that. Of course, even if a car looks great, you should see if you can get it checked out by an independent mechanic. They can tell you if there's anything obviously wrong with the car or if it's been neglected. Good luck. Story 21. Look for body lines that don't quite line up properly. It's a good sign it was in a wreck and patched back up. A good body man will make it like it never happened. But those are few and far between.